possibility. So once YouTube has started, I'm just going to talk everybody through the apprenticeships that we're going to be looking at today. I'm just checking the sound, this end, 1 second. Okay. So welcome everybody, thank you so much for joining us today on this apprenticeship live stream. I really appreciate everybody taking the time out. You may be watching this on a recording, on live stream, or you may be with us live. The point of today's session is for us to really help you understand how you can make apprenticeships work, specifically leadership apprenticeships. So my company, we are a coaching and training business, and we specialise in leadership coaching and training. And our leadership apprenticeships are part of what we offer. And today we're going to be focusing on the Team Leader Level 3 apprenticeship. We're going to be telling you a little bit about how you can use that within your business and kind of debunk some of the mystery and the myths around around apprenticeships in the workplace. So my name's Rebecca. We've been in business for 10 years. We work across all different sectors. We work in retail, in law, we work in education, all different sectors, and we bring cohorts of learners together. Sometimes we do explicit cohorts for companies, and sometimes we bring different learners together from different sectors, and there's also some real learning in that as well. So team leaders and leaders get to hear the different challenges that people are facing in different businesses. I've also got Beck Wong with me today, who delivers the Team Leader Level 3. So she's going to be telling you a little bit more about the programme itself. Beck does the delivery of the training, so she's perfectly placed to tell you a little bit about how that works. So before we get into the detail, I'd just really like to understand a little bit about what's the current state of play for you in your workplace. Now, you won't be able to do this if you're watching this on a recording, but for those of you that are joining us live, I wonder if you could just answer this question for me. What is it that's going on for you at the moment? You should just be able to click that on your device. If you enter your answer, have you already got some leadership apprenticeships happening? Have you got apprenticeships but not perhaps leadership apprenticeships? Do you not have any leadership apprenticeships, or do you not have any apprentices in your workplace at all? Might be that's the case. Thank you. We've got a couple of an answer coming there. Okay, so a bit of a mixture there. So that's really useful. So hopefully for those of you that have got apprentices in your workplace, we'll be able to use some of your knowledge to pull out some key questions. That's great. Thank you for that. So what is it you're looking for from today? So thinking about if you're considering more leadership apprenticeships, perhaps you're considering a different provider, perhaps you're considering us, or perhaps you're here just to learn a little bit more about how an apprenticeship might work. I wonder if you could just put some anything in particular you're looking for from this live stream on your device. That would be super. And I'll aim to answer any of your questions. Okay, so the first one coming is around funding for the course. So we absolutely will cover that in a moment because that's really, really important. Okay, so learning about how they apply and how other providers deliver them. Perfect. So we'll be able to tell you about how we deliver the apprenticeship. Now, we work in partnership with Northern Training Academy. So they're the apprenticeship company and we work in partnership with them. So we're consultants and we deliver the training for them in essence. So I'll talk you through how we go about delivering there. And with regards to how people apply to go on the apprenticeship, we work in conjunction with the employers. So if the employer is happy for the apprentice to go onto the apprenticeship, we simply start up with a sign-up call. So that's a couple of hours on a sign-up call with Northern Training Academy, and they'll talk through the programme. They do what's called a skills scan document. So they look at how confident and competent they are in different modules. And that really helps us just check that that person's on the right programme. For example, one of my clients is on the level 3, but he's moving jobs and he's now trying to work out, should he finish his level 3 apprenticeship or actually is he ready to move straight onto a level 5? And we're having that conversation, and the skills scan's quite helpful to do that. So just to give you an idea, we do the team leader level 3 apprenticeship, which we're really going to focus on today, but then we also do the level 5 operations and department manager, which is more for senior leaders, and that's equivalent to a foundation degree level. The team leader level 3 is equivalent to around an A-level qualification. Yeah, some really good questions. Thank you for these coming in. So with regards to the work that's involved outside of their roles, I'll let Beck pick up on that shortly. What we're working on currently is we're really fine-tuning, making sure that any work that's done outside of the training sessions as such is really useful. So as Beck will talk you through shortly, apprentices have to collect evidence, and they have to produce a portfolio as part of their endpoint assessment. So any work that they're doing outside of the delivery of the training or the one-to-one coaching sessions that we have with each apprentice will all be about collecting evidence. So we're working really hard to make sure everything's as relevant as possible. With regards to how much support's given, so Beck will give you the breakdown of what the programme looks like, but then outside of that, Beck then also does one-to-one coaching sessions. On top of that, as we lead towards the endpoint assessment, there are things like we come out and do an observation where we come to the workplace, we do professional discussions, where we have a discussion around a particular module, and that apprentice gets to talk about what they've learned and to demonstrate that knowledge. So there's lots of additional support. We also use a platform that's really helpful to help them store all of the evidence as well that we have access to, so we can give that virtual assistance too. With regards to time out, I'll let Beck pick up on that shortly. And how does someone qualify for an apprenticeship? So, excuse me, it's a really good question. And actually anybody can do an apprenticeship. And I think it's probably quite an old school view. And if I'm honest, hands up, when I came into apprenticeships a couple of years ago, I still thought it was for school leavers, but actually apprenticeships now are for absolutely anybody. So on my level 5, to give you an example, currently I've got qualified accountants and pharmacists on there, but they then want to get that additional qualification in leadership. Similarly with our team leader cohort, we've got teachers on there, we've got office managers on there, but they're looking to get that qualification in leadership and management to show what they can do in that specific area. And what I find often happens is people work their way up to become a leader or a manager. They don't always have the qualification to prove that. So that's what this team leader qualification can do really, really well. And it's ideal for somebody just going into management, so that first time management supervisor level. They're perhaps only leading one person or a small team of people. That's what this programme is absolutely perfect for. So anything that I've not answered there, we will come back to. I know it's coming, so please don't worry that I've not answered your question if I've not covered it. So let's look a little bit more then at this team leader apprenticeship. As I mentioned earlier, it's equivalent to an A-level qualification. So, and nothing good comes easy. I'm going to be really honest with you. The assessment is really rigorous. Now, what I think that does for the employer, you're obviously investing time in that, in your apprentice, and them going out, them coming to training, be it virtually or face to face, them having that off the job time on their work. So it's really important, I think, that you get some return on that investment. And that actually, I think, is what an apprenticeship does really, really well. And I'll tell you a little bit about towards the end of this live stream exactly how we measure that impact and that performance. But it's really rigorous, more so perhaps I think than when sometimes you do an off-the-cuff training day. It's not embedded as well as this apprenticeship is. It's a 12-month programme as well, so it's a really significant amount of time to get plenty of progressing from that particular apprentice. So who is it for? It really varies in different businesses as to who we've got coming on to the team leader programme, but broadly we're looking for people, as you can see on your screen. So team leaders, perhaps department managers, supervisors, they have to be leading people. That's an absolute definite, because they're going to have to collect evidence of them working with those people. So setting targets, setting objectives, reviewing, giving feedback. So they absolutely need that. And the impact that it'll be measured through knowledge, skills and behaviours. So we will be feeding them knowledge, giving them content. We will be enabling them to practice skills, and we'll be looking for certain behaviours. So we'll be training them and assessing them on a set of knowledge, a set of skills and a set of behaviours. And that's the same for anybody on that team leader apprenticeship. But what you'll find out when you hear from Beck in a moment, the modules are so relevant. They've been written by business leaders in the UK. So people like John Lewis, Marks and Spencer's, AO.com have all been involved in writing what we call the standard. So the modules and the criteria are written by really great businesses in the UK. So when I looked at it, I thought, my goodness, it's so comprehensive. It covers everything you need to be a really great team leader. So, Beck, would you like to talk us through a little bit about how we deliver the programme? Is that all right?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Rebecca. So I'm Beck Wong. I deliver the programme on behalf of Rebecca Ray Coaching Consultancy. And I really want to explain what this looks like on a practical level within your role. So what we do is we deliver 8 of our sessions are virtual sessions delivered by myself. 2 of them are face-to-face. The virtual sessions take 3 hours and it's once a month. During those sessions, they're really interactive. We use a really great platform to really help the material come to life. And as a trainer, I would say it's on a par with face-to-face training. We can still interact with each other. We can still work with different groups in the breakout rooms. And also the material that we provide, obviously it's designed to meet the standards you need to meet for the apprenticeship. But what you'll find at the end of every session is they look very, very different, because we need you to bring, or we need the learners to bring in their own experiences and what happens within their organisations. And we talk about it from that point of view. So at the end of the session, each one looks very, very different, but with that same foundation of the information that we provide. So what we want to do during those sessions is we want to help you meet the standards. We have some knowledge standards and skills standards and the behavioural standards that Rebecca mentioned. So we really focus on the knowledge within those sessions. So we're providing the foundation for you to go away after the session and apply it within work. So at the end of those 3 hours, what we do is we give you some tasks that we call gap tasks. To perform within your role. And these are really tightly tied in with the standards and with the knowledge that we cover, so that we're not creating extra work. It's very much blended in with the work that you already do. So we're not asking you to go away and produce a whole new essay that didn't exist before. What we're asking you to do is take that knowledge from the session and look for opportunities to apply it within your role. So it may be that you're conducting a meeting, and within that meeting you're meeting a lot of the standards. So it might be delegating tasks, it might be within communication, and what you can do is then turn that into a piece of evidence. So it's the minutes from that meeting, so it's not extra work, as it were. So what we do is we formulate or we collect that evidence to meet those standards, and evidence can be anything. Like I say, meetings from minutes, it might be, it could be PDP. So this month, I've actually tasked our learners with filling in a PDP, a personal development plan, where they really have to reflect on their goals, their motivations, and that is one standard met. Then they can take it to the next level. And if they share that PDP with their manager and discuss that between them, and take on feedback from their manager, that meets another standard. So it's the one piece of paper that meets 2 standards. But then if they take it to the next level and act on that feedback and do something with it, then they meet another standard. So it's one form that can create lots of standards. And that's what we aim to do. We work really smartly so that a piece of work that you do within your role anyway can meet standards across a few different modules. So the modules are listed on the screen, and just to give you a bit of a taster, I've just delivered the self-awareness module this week to our current cohort. So within that module, what we were looking at things like emotional intelligence, and there's a key model within this. So we really broke it down. We looked at things like empathy, we looked at that self-awareness, we looked at social skills as well. Things like self-regulation, how we can maintain that when we're in a position of leadership. Then we need to maintain that regulation so that we can manage our teams well and not panic when things are going quite difficultly, really challenging situations. So we looked at feedback, and we looked at things like unconscious bias. That was a really interesting topic to cover, and how that can creep into our workplace. It was, this particular module really challenged people to look at themselves, to be really honest about themselves. Next month's very, very different. Next month, we're looking at operational management. So we're looking at our organisational strategies, how they apply to us within our teams, how we get our teams working towards those goals, what our roles are within that. So it's each module is very, very different, and it challenges our learners in a different way. After you've completed your session, we arrange to have a coaching session. So that's just one-to-one with the learner and myself. And we talk about your progress, we look at the evidence, how you can use that evidence, how you can apply it to certain standards. And that is just that one-to-one support, checking in on each person and giving them the direction and the guidance that they need throughout. So they're always supported, we're always there, contactable, ready for a chat if needed to help support you in the work that you're producing. The course is 12 months, and you can join at any time as well. So it's not like it sits within the typical academic year. You don't have to wait till September to join. It's a rolling course, so you can join at any point. It's just that the order that you complete those modules will differ. I think that's about it. Rebecca, is there anything else that I need to cover there?
No, that's absolutely perfect. And I think just to make clear, we currently have a cohort running. There is room in that cohort, but we only work with small groups, so we don't like to take too many learners, so we can't offer that, that really focused time with our learners. So we take up to about 12 people in a group. So then should that group fill up, we then start a new cohort. So there's always room for new people. The current cohort, the face-to-face training we're delivering in Birmingham, but if you had enough learners in your organisation, you could have an exclusive cohort. And in fact, we've got a client looking to do that at the moment, where it's just their learners in that cohort. So of course you can use your training rooms if need be, or we can deliver the training wherever works best for you. So there's a degree of flexibility there. So it's always worth inquiring with us if you're interested in looking at more than one or two people. Thanks, Beck, that's fab. So importantly, you're probably wondering how much this is going to cost, and this still baffles me, if I'm quite honest. I've had a training company for 10 years, and I still don't quite work out how this is such good value. So if you are a levy payer, if you're an apprenticeship levy payer, you're likely to know if you are. You're usually a larger organisation. If you're a levy payer, what happens is money basically gets taken from your bottom line and put into a pot, and that's kind of secured and held there, and you can use that pot of money for apprenticeships. If you don't use it, guess who takes it? The government takes it back. So obviously we need to try and get as many organisations using their levy pot to then develop and train their people. So if you're a levy payer and you've not used it before, it's likely you've got money in that pot that you can access. Northern Training Academy will help you understand how to do that. I believe it's a click of a button. It's as easy as that. If you're perhaps a smaller organisation, or you don't know that you're a levy payer, there's still funding available. So if you are a levy payer, you would pay £4,500 for that 12-month programme out of your levy pot. So that money may already be in there. If you are a levy payer but you have no money left in your pot, there is an alternative, so I'll come on to that in a moment. So the maximum you're going to pay if you're a levy payer will be £4,500 for that 12 months worth of training, so 10 modules of delivery and 12 months of one-to-ones. If you're not a levy payer, however, there is still 95% funding available from the government. So you're only going to have to pay £250 for that 12 months of training. Okay, so the minimum you'd pay is £250 for that amount. So it's really, obviously, really good value. So that's the funding available. Now, I mentioned earlier as well the endpoint assessment. So you are getting a regulated qualification. So if you're sending somebody on that, there is going to have to be an endpoint assessment. So don't want to hide this from anybody. This can put people off. So we've got to be really open and honest about it. I do believe from an organisation's point of view, this helps you get your return on investment. But from the learner, I recognise and appreciate it might be a bit of a barrier. So for this particular apprenticeship, and all apprenticeships are assessed in different ways, but for this apprenticeship, all apprentices have to put together a portfolio of evidence. Essentially what that is an electronic folder of 20 pieces of evidence that demonstrates their skills, knowledge and behaviour during that 12-month period. So as Beck said, a PDP is a piece of evidence, an agenda from a meeting, maybe a recording from a meeting that they delivered, an appraisal that they've delivered. All of that information, so work that they're doing all day, every day anyway, is part of their evidence. Sometimes we have team leaders join us who have never done appraisals before, so they're learning about how to do that. So we would be encouraging them, one of the gap tasks is to go and prepare to deliver an appraisal with the line manager, perhaps shadow somebody first. So it is giving them the opportunity to do it, but they will have to have done it by the time they finish the apprenticeship. So they'll have a portfolio of evidence. They take in that portfolio of evidence, be it paper or electronic. Most people do it electronically now. They take in their device, if you like, with all of their evidence with them, and they'd have a professional discussion with their assessor. So that's not with us, that's with the assessing body. And that's where that apprentice talks through their learning throughout that 12-month period, using the evidence as a bit of a prompt, as a bit of a help. It is not a test, it's an opportunity for them to talk about what they've learned. They then do a presentation and they are given a selection of titles. So 6 weeks before, they're given a title out of 6. The assessor will tell them which presentation they'd like them to do. They've got up to 6 weeks to prepare for that, and they can deliver that virtually or face-to-face to the assessor, whatever their preference is. So that's the endpoint assessment. However, to get into the endpoint assessment, there is a minimum requirement of something called functional skills. So the government quite rightly want to ensure that everybody coming out of an apprenticeship has a base level of English and maths. So if you're going to come into this apprenticeship, you either need to have proof of having an A to C or equivalent GCSE in English and maths, or if you don't have that proof, you can sometimes apply to City and Guilds or whoever you did that with to get a copy of that certificate. If you don't have it, or you've never done it, or you didn't get that A to C, there's loads of support from Northern Training Academy to get you there. You do have to pass those assessments. So there is an assessment for English and maths then before you go on to do your endpoint assessment, because that's a kind of prerequisite. That honestly has been a bit of a scary point for some people, but having seen some of my learners now passing their English and maths, they're now thinking about going on and doing degrees, which is amazing. One lady who I saw yesterday wants to go and do a counselling course she's not been able to go and do because she didn't have her English. And she's not had to take a year out at college to do it either. She's done it on the side with Northern Training Academy while she's been at work. So although it can seem a bit scary, I get that completely. There's lots and lots of support from Northern Training Academy. They get you through it. There's a really good platform where there's kind of e-learning to practice the skills. I'll be honest, if I were to do English and Maths GCSE again now, I'm not convinced I'd get it. So the support there is fantastic. But I'm not going to hide that from you. That is absolutely a prerequisite. So if somebody doesn't have those certificates, which might be they've lost it, they've moved several times. If they can't get access to those, they would have to do those assessments again with the support from Northern Training Academy. Okay, so that in essence is the overview of the apprenticeship. And I just wondered if anybody's got any questions at this point that perhaps we haven't covered. Feel free to put them in on Menti if you've got anything else that maybe we haven't covered at this point. I'm hopeful we have, but just in case. An important point just to reiterate, as Beck mentioned, if while you're writing your questions, people can join at any time. So we do have this rolling programme, and you will just join the programme at different points. Everybody gets the same training, the same opportunities, just at different points in their 12-month cycle. Just give you a few more minutes in case any questions come through. Okay, so have you had anyone pass their endpoint assessment? So we've been delivering apprenticeships now for 18 months. I started my first cohort of level 5 18 months ago. So guess what? They're about to go into their endpoint assessment. So we're just getting them ready now. I just had a meeting with Northern Training Academy this morning. I'm really comfortable with all of their knowledge. I'm pretty happy. I've also got a team leader. So their course is only 12 months. So I've also got one of my last cohort of team leaders who's about to go. They've just had their pre-gateway meeting. So they're about to go to gateway before the end of this month. So I've not had anybody due for it yet. So I can't say I have, but that's not because they've failed it. I've just not had enough time with them. But what I would say is on that, what we've learned during that 18 months about assessments and preparing people for their endpoint assessments, I'm really looking forward to getting kind of testimonials from our current cohort so they can talk about all of the support they've got. We're most definitely aiming for distinctions. So to give you a bit of an idea with endpoint assessment, you can get past merit and distinction. Part the endpoint assessment. I've got a couple of learners in my team leader cohort who will just be happy, quite frankly, to pass it, although I think they'll get a merit. But for my level 5s who are about to start, some of them I'm pretty sure will get distinctions. I'm really, really happy with where they're at. What feedback do we get about the workshop? So that's a really good question. The feedback we get is usually through the one-to-ones. So my first question on the one-to-one from each learner is, how did you find that session? What was most useful for you? And most importantly, what are you not fully confident and competent with? What is it we then need to spend some more time on? And that one-to-one, that's primarily what that's about. So let's say, for example, when Beck's done awareness of self this week, it might be that one of the learners particularly struggles with emotional regulation, for example. So then the opportunity then is, well, let's spend some more time on that on a one-to-one. So we can really work on a one-to-one specifically on their needs. So we get individual feedback every month, basically. Thank you for that question. Anything else anybody's got? How long are the face-to-face questions? Thank you. So the face-to-face sessions are all day. So the way we split it up between the 10 modules, 8 modules are virtual and they're 3 hours, as Beck said. And then we do 2 days, which are full days, and they're usually 9 till 3, something like that. The topics that we've chosen to do face-to-face, we do finance and project management. And the reason we do those face-to-face is what I've found is it's usually pretty new for team leaders. So they're very rarely coming to our sessions having knowledge about project management. They've often been involved in projects, but they've not necessarily managed them. So it's quite new to them. So we need a little bit more time on that. And similarly with finance, they've perhaps signed off invoices. And if I think about my first management role, I was signing off invoices, but I didn't really understand the governance governance and compliance behind it. So we go a lot more into detail as to what that sign-off process, what bigger part that's playing, and what else they need to understand. We cover how to monitor budgets. So if they're not doing that at that point in their role as team leader, that's what we're aiming for them to be doing. And they will have to be able to talk about how to monitor that budget. As part of evidence for that finance module, though, they just have to be able to talk about governance and compliance. They don't need evidence of them managing a budget, because not all team leaders are. So are you planning on delivering any other apprenticeships? Potentially. The coaching professional is an apprenticeship that I have been looking at for a couple of months. If a client wanted to discuss that in more detail, we'd be more than happy to talk about it. We are leadership development specialists, so it's usually around the leadership we focus. However, we've also looked at the learning mentor qualification, the apprenticeship too, because there's a lot of transferable skills in there. So if an organisation wanted us to deliver those, we could, as long as it is in a group cohort. We couldn't take individuals on those particular ones, but we could forward you to Northern Training Academy, who could look after you at an individual level. So if there's any specific apprenticeships that you're thinking of that you don't have a supplier for, a provider for, do let me know, because I can see if Northern Training Academy can help you with that if we can't. That's great, thank you for that. Any other questions, guys, that we've not covered? Anything else anybody else wanted to check in on? So kind of next steps, I suppose. If you've got a learner ready and waiting, we can literally take them on straight away. We have room within our cohort that can get them slotted in there. We do a bit of an introductory meeting to get to know us. We'd introduce them to our virtual platforms that we use to deliver training, to get them used to that, and then we'd get them in. So we could start them next month if that's what people are looking for. All we need to do is that introductory meeting and a sign-up call with Northern Training Academy. Other than that, it's pretty easy to do. If there's some more complex thinking to do around, perhaps you've got cohorts of people, we can set up a one-to-one meeting to explore that as well. That's absolutely fine. You'll find us on LinkedIn and Twitter and Instagram and Facebook, wherever you want to find us. YouTube, you'll find us on there. Equally, you can email me, or that's my phone number on the screen too. So please feel free to contact me, and I'd be really happy to explore it with you. So hopefully we've answered all of your questions. I'm going to end the live stream now. Thanks so much for everybody for joining us live. It's really appreciated. And if you do need anything, any more detail, please don't hesitate to contact me directly, and I'll aim to answer any of your questions. Thank you so much, everyone.